Time for another round of salty takeaways and bitter ends. And yes, it was a bitter end with Atlanta United season coming to an end with a 2-0 loss to NYCFC at Yankee Stadium in the opening round of the Eastern Conference playoffs for MLS Cup 2021. It is just going to be you and me this time. We've got your reactions, got your early reactions. We'll look at those as well. We'll get into the numbers and get into your comments with what was going on in the match in and of itself at Yankee Stadium. The 3:00 kick, 3:18 kick. NYC was a minus 132 going in. The draw option, the 90-minute draw, was a plus 275. Atlanta United was a plus 365. And when you get into the lineups, we had been talking all week about a makeshift back line for NYC, and James Sands drifted in. He was a part of it. Alexander Callens, his starting status was unsure, and he ended up starting as well. So looking at the lineup for Atlanta United, it was Lennon Robinson, Ellen Franco, and George Bello. You had Mateus Osechu and Santi Sosa, Luis Aruju, Barco, Moreno, and Joseph. Looking at the numbers, courtesy of our friends at SofaScore, Atlanta United on the day, a 6.73 compared to NYC's 7.19. Brad Gazan and net a 6.8. Same with Miles Robinson and Mateus Osechu. Joseph Martinez had a 6.8 as well. Ezequiel Barco, the highest number on the board, with a 7.4. Santi Sosa, Alan Franco each had 7s. Marcelino Moreno with his yellow had a 6.2. Luis Aruju had a 6.0. Concerns with Aruju after an early contact where he was down for a while. Physios had to come out, and they were making sure that he could continue. He did for a while before he was eventually subbed out. Brooks Lennon with a 7.9. George Bello a 7.5. Looking at your subs on the day, Jurgen Damm a 6.8. Jake Mulroney a 6.5. Damm came in for Aruju in the 62nd minute. Santi Sosa gave you what he had in 62 minutes. Mulroney came in there as well. So let's take a look at your stats. And we'll take it a half at a time, and then we'll look at the numbers in and of it themselves over the full 90 minutes. In the first half, Atlanta United had 62% of the possession to 38% for NYC. Total shots, 4 for Atlanta United, only 1 on target. 3 shots for NYC, 2 on target. 2 blocks for Atlanta United, 2 corners for NYC. And we all know how important set pieces can be at Yankee Stadium. That turned out to be the case for those 2 goals in the second half. 3 offside for NYC. No big chances for either side. 1 shot inside the box for NYC in the first 45 minutes, 2 outside the box, and 2 saves for Brad Gazan in the first 45. For the passes, accurate passes, 227 out of 276 for an 82% completion rate, 14 of 32 on long balls, 0 for 6 on crosses in the first 45. NYC was 2 for 8, 9 of 25 on their long balls at 36%, passing at 75% accuracy with 38% possession at 123 for 165. Atlanta United on their dribbles, 14 of 18 at 73%. Lost their possession slightly more than NYC did. They won 34 of the 57 duels in the first half, so it's about 60%. They won 6 of the 11 aerials at 54%. 10 tackles, 12 picks for NYC, and Atlanta United had 9 clearances to 5 in the first 45 minutes. In the second 45, field had tilted toward NYC, especially with that first 10 to 15 minutes that we all know that a lot of folks have known about, where they scored 14 goals in the first 15 minutes of the second half, and that was tops in Major League Soccer this season. 10 total shots with only 46% possession for NYC in the second half. Only 3 of them on target, though. 4 were off target. 3 of them were blocked. Atlanta United had only 5 total shots in the second half, 3 of them on target. 6 corners, however. They did have 1 offside, 2 yellows, and the red to Alan Franco. 1 big chance for NYC. 1 hit the post. 7 shots inside the box. 3 of them outside, and 3 big saves for Sean Johnson in the second 45 minutes. Nothing in a big chance category for Atlanta United in the second half. 3 shots inside, 2 outside, and a save for Brad Gazan. Second half numbers pretty much about the same, to be honest with you. Accurate passes for Atlanta United, 180 of 217 for 83%. NYC 154 of 199 for 77%. accuracy with their long balls. NYC in the second half at 14 for 26. Atlanta United about the same, 13 of 23. 5 crosses connecting for Atlanta United out of 17 attempts. 5 crosses only attempted by NYC in the second half. They connected on 2 of those. Atlanta United once again on the dribble, 15 to 22. And they won 31 of 57 duels in the second half as well. So about, once again, 60-40 on the duels. Won 5 of the 8 aerials at 62.5%. 16 tackles for NYC in the second half to 4 for Atlanta United. 7 interceptions for each. 13 clearances for NYC as Atlanta United tried to dial up the pressure in the second 45 as well. And the numbers in the overall, if you combine all of those numbers, 58% possession for Atlanta, 13 total shots for NYC. Like you said, 10 of them in the second half, and a lot of them in that first 15 minutes when they came back out from intermission. 15 fouls on the day for NYC. 5 of the shots were on target, 4 blocks, 1 big chance, 1 post, 8 inside the box, 6 shots from outside the box for Atlanta United, 4 saves for Sean Johnson, 3 for Brad Gazan. So Atlanta United on the day, passes at 83%. NYC at 76, long balls at 49%, 27 of 55. The crosses were 5 of 23 compared to 4 for 13. Atlanta United once again won the duels on the day, 65 of 112. Aerials were 11 of 19. Dribbles were at 73%, 26 to 10 on tackles, 19 for 9 on interceptions, 18 for 15 for clearances. All of those in favor of NYC. In the details of the match, the 2 goals in the 4 minutes, Tati Castellanos from Morales, and then Alexander Callens in the 53rd minute. So basically 2 goals in about 3.5 minutes where it was the difference for NYC. Sean Johnson, by the way, courtesy of our friends at SofaScore, punched an 8.0 from being in net on the day. So the news is we carry it forward for this particular match. NYC gets the win. They have now 9 days before they end up in New England taking on the Revolution. That one will be at 7:30 on FS1 9 days from now. So Tuesday next will be 1 versus 4, New England versus NYC. Philadelphia with their win, they have a week from today. So next Sunday at 5:30 on ESPN, they will get the winner of Nashville and Orlando going to Chester, Pennsylvania. And that match is Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. We'll give you the early juice boxes for that one as we get active in the futures that are going on in the MLS Cup playoffs. Let's get into your thoughts on the matter. And once again, thanks to everyone who has been a part of Salty Takeaways and Bitter Ends all season long. Thanks to everybody who has jumped in and has given your thoughts on everything this season. So we'll start with Stizzle A. And Stizzle says that this is what happens when you blow 14 late points and surrender home field advantage. AU got what they deserved. Atlanta United got what they deserved in all facets other than Penso. He sucks. Hashtag on par reaction. So Stizzle, what I would say, I think that the number, I know it was 14 that were surrendered, but they also gained 8. So the net was 6. But yes, to your point, it is the difference between being a 5 and being home field advantage, like we would be seeing with Nashville or the 3 seats. So, once again, you're correct in that notion, but getting what they deserved, I think, is a very, very unfair assessment. Got what they deserved in all facets. I'd like to know what you mean by that. I know that we can only look at 280 characters and sit there and say, okay, they got what they deserved. If it's specifically on the notion of losing more points than you gained in trailing situations, then looking at it from right there, I get where you're coming from. But if you're looking at it in the overall, I don't think they got what they deserved, considering what they were able to do as a club after the start and having the second highest average point total in the last 15 games. And honestly, since the coaching change was made, they were second in the Eastern Conference in points per game average. So getting what they deserved, I think that they probably should get more credit for being where they are and what they accomplished from where they were. So that's just my perspective on all of it. And Chris Penso, for me, I think we understood early on what Chris Penso was trying to do. I think that he wasn't going to let the action dictate him giving cards. He's no longer quick trigger Chris Penso. He's being a little bit more pragmatic about his giving of cards. Although in a playoff game, I understand the notion of not wanting to turn into a blackjack dealer and let that determine, okay, how's it going to happen? If you blow a bunch of whistles early and turn it into 9v9, the individuals might have a little more space at Yankee Stadium on that turf, but I know that that's not what you want. So I understand why he kind of let the game be what the game was, with all of the fouls and the whistles that were not called. So that's your on par reaction. If there's anything else that pops into your head on the way into Overreaction Monday, go for it. Turner Kirby says he's seeing all the lazy Boca takes come back, and they all have one central and really only talking point: the Dom contract. Cool. Let's all admit it was bad. Now, what other problems do you have this year? Moreno, good. Aruju, good. Pineda, good. Do some research, please. So, Turner, I think that I know a lot of folks will sit there and look at the Jurgen Damm contract and notice that, yeah, you didn't get your return on your investment there. Having him being injured most of the season. And Jason and I, when we talked about the travel aspect of things early on in the year, when you go back to that game in New England against the Revolution, where Barco was injured and Dom was injured, that was when we still had game day travel. And when you're having to travel from Atlanta to Foxborough, you're flying into probably Providence because of the time of day, and you're still having to shuttle for an hour to get to the stadium, get unwound. And I completely understand, when you have athletes that are as finely tuned as they are, getting injuries like these. And I think that toward the end of the season, we saw what Jurgen Damm could be as that change of pace and that speed that we've seen on the right-hand side, going all the way back to the game in Birmingham, where you got to see Jurgen Damm, Brooks Lennon, Jake Mulroney all work on that right-hand side and work very, very well together. But I think that this is what happens when you have athletes who are predicated on certain skills or certain capabilities that they have, and then they get injured. It's just a long rehab for Jurgen Damm to come in. And no, the return versus the contract wasn't there. But just remember that the injury took a lot out of Jurgen Damm and what we would have liked to have seen from Jurgen Damm. So yes, by looking at it, no, it didn't work in the overall. Moreno, good, absolutely. Aruju, good, fantastic pickup to help Atlanta with what we wanted to see from this team offensively, and obviously having Gonzalo Pineda. It's good in his first head coaching gig coming from the Schmetzer tree, and seeing what we were able to see with him in charge, taking over for interim coach Rob Valentino after the firing of Gabriel Heinze in the early section of the season after the start that Atlanta United had. So next up, J. Jason Joyner at Cycle Pirate, JJJ. Enough allowing a franchise to play a match on a baseball field, get a real pitch. I know a lot of folks would agree with you there and get a real pitch, because, in a situation like this, and, everybody mentions, that the pitch is not 70, although it's listed as being 70 yards wide. When Peter Vermes, if I'm not mistaken, took a tape measure out and came it up with like 67 or something like that. And then, once again, we talked about how those kinds of dimensions can impact everything else. And basically that was where the phrase fighter jets in a washing machine came from for me, because of all of the bouncing and the rebounding and having things happen that much quicker and have to react that much faster and all of those other elements that were associated with it. So no, I trust me. I know that a lot of folks would like to see what NYCFC is built like on a traditional pitch size, 70 yards or wider. So, when you're 5% less in width, then you're looking, probably 5 or 10% less space in surface area across the whole thing. And when you're catered to it and you're having to tweak your game to match what's going on there, it creates difficulties. And it also makes it easier for the defense to clog the middle and make sure that the folks that are your part of your high-powered offense don't get as many touches, don't get as many handles on the day. And I think we saw that with Joseph Martinez. So, would love for NYCFC, Jason, to get a real pitch. So we're still going to be waiting to see what's going on there. Daniel Esquire at Fem Football ATL. Atlanta United suffers from bipolar disorder. Never more evident than watching the first half and then the second. Therapy and medication required, and time to be with one another as well. And to your point, Danielle, that first 15 minutes when really it was that 3.5 minute stretch where you had the ball pounded into the turf on a volley, and you have folks kind of trying to figure out what to do and what to react to with the first goal that goes in, and then obviously the header that goes in. And there were 3 NYC jerseys there, and you did not see Atlanta United mark in a way where they couldn't get that free header. And that's what it was. It was an absolute free header. Great save by Brad Gazan in the first place. And then it gets cycled back in, headed in to make it 2-0. But you look at the back line, especially for that second goal, and it was 2 goals, 3.5 minutes. And they did kind of look like they were on their heels a little bit coming out of the locker room. NYCFC took advantage, and that's what it was about. It was about moments. And you had 2 moments there with the one goal that just took the high hop and ended up going into the back of the net with Medina there at the far post, kind of waiting for it and not touching it and kind of giving more food for thought for the back line for Atlanta United. But that second goal, great save by Brad, and then it comes back through, and then a header where there's no defender there to help marking, and it made it 2-0 in a hurry. So, you look at the first 25 or 30 minutes, and Atlanta United was in control, and they had the better of NYC, and they just didn't have anything to show for it in that first 25 to 30 minutes. And then it's just those 2 moments early in the second half. And you look at it from there, and it was 2-0, and they had to fight uphill from there. Shiva, in going back and forth with Turner, what about all the roster construction talk? Is it perfect? No. Is it bad? No. Let's give it a year under Pineda. Winning in Yankee Stadium against a good NYC team was never going to be easy. It's not the roster, in my opinion. Shiva, I agree with you. And it's going to be an interesting offseason with the roster the way that it's currently constructed. Is there going to be a suitor for Miles Robinson? Is there going to be a suitor for George Bello? And then you're also getting a full off season of training with individuals where you'll get a healthier Joseph Martinez, because remember what Joseph has been going through, and it's about load management and pain management for Joseph. So you see those kinds of things. You get another off season for Joseph to come back and get healthy. And you see what you have with Marcelino Moreno, with Luis Araujo, with Ezequiel Barco at the moment, because we don't know anything one way or the other, officially official. And then we've discussed the talk on the show and everything. But what you're looking for is suitors for possibly Bello, possibly Barco, possibly Miles. And then how do you fill those holes? And so that's what we're looking at. And I think that Gonzalo Pineda has a true idea in mind as to how he wants this team to look next season. And, we'll see what it looks like with the folks that are on hand and how it rolls in from there. John Nason says, how does Joseph get back to a goal per 90 with these teammates around him? Understand the desire to play a little deeper this year, but he was at his best when drifting around the back line of the opposition. Some serious offseason work to do for Pineda. And just so let me get into the lineup, John, and get into the individual numbers for Joseph today. Joseph played the full 90, had only 1 shot on target, 1 shot off target, so 2 shots in general, only 22 touches on the day. And I know that you're looking for a number far greater than that for Joseph. 16 of 18 in his accurate passes, won both of his aerial duels, lost possession 3 times. So I know when you're looking at 22 touches for Joseph, I know that that's troubling. But once again, remember that when you have a back line that is as makeshift as it was going in for NYC, even though Alexander Callens did start, you know that there's going to be that positional gravity that Jared has talked about in the past. And in a shorter field, it's just my view, I think it's easier to double team and mark someone that is a talisman in that shorter space. And there's less room for him to move to begin with. And then you have to work that much more to try to navigate and figure out how he can get touches. So I think it was compounded by a couple of different things. Yes, the size of the pitch. Yes, making that a little easier to mark Joseph. But 22 touches on the day for Joseph, 16 of 18 on his passes. So John, I definitely I see where you're coming from there. And it's just, once again, getting adjusted to Joseph and getting back to full health and seeing what Pineda wants to do offensively as well with all of that firepower. So once again, it's just going to take some time, because remember what we were talking about on the right-hand side with Aruju and Brooks Lennon. You saw the relationship with Barco and Bello and Moreno on the left. You weren't seeing that with Brooks Lennon and Luis Aruju on the right-hand side. And so it's going to take time with all of these folks to figure out how best everything integrates. And so, John, I definitely understand where you're coming from. South Georgia United, Jason Heinley, great turnaround from midseason to now. Optimistically had us winning the cup, but I'm pleased we made the playoffs. Let's get ready for next season. Back and committed to every home game. Jason, I know that you are not the only one there. And trust me, with all of the talk that has gone on, considering everything that has come forward with this club that was having all the difficulties early, you have the firing of Gabriel Heinze. Rob Valentino comes in. Everybody rallies around Rob, and the team does what it does. They bring in Gonzalo Pineda. You see what they do with Pineda. I think that things are definitely on an upswing, and it's going to be interesting to see what it's going to be like for Pineda to have a full off season, to have a full way to orientate with everybody that's there. And then once again, remember, you're talking about the possibility of having to find others to help fill in possible absences, but we'll get there when we get there in January. Obviously, we'll be talking about that too as well. But Jason, thank you for getting ready for next season. Pleased we made the playoffs. I know a lot of folks are pleased across the board that Atlanta United made the playoffs. Abby, as far as I know, we're having a show tomorrow morning. Probably missed it. Was wondering why the NYCFC goalie looked as if he was taunting or egging on our players after the game. This I did not see. So definitely going to have to check with Jason on that and see if there's anything that happens there. I think the guys, to answer your question about the show tomorrow morning, I think that they are catching the charter coming home tonight. So it'll be a show tomorrow. And obviously there's a lot to talk about when it comes to everything overseas. Premier League back at it, firing of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, a lot of stuff going on in the European theater to talk about as well. So it's going to be a full day tomorrow across the board. SDH will be on in some form or fashion. I imagine we'll be on at normal time or something close to it at 9:05 Eastern. Then we'll have soccer over there coming on at 7 o'clock to discuss everything going on. We'll probably get into some of the action that went on overseas and some of the activity on and off the field, with Manchester United obviously at the front of the page when it comes to discussing things. We'll probably get into some of that too, but once again, Overreaction Monday is going to be all about what you guys thought about this loss to NYC in the season, and we'll continue to discuss how things have been going from there as well. So once again, thanks to everybody who has chimed in and let us know what you thought about the season-ending loss against NYC. Obviously, we're not going anywhere because there's still plenty to talk about in and around the world of soccer. We'll do that on a daily basis, but we'll continue to talk about Atlanta United as much as humanly possible. But regular season ends, playoffs end with the 2-0 loss to NYCFC, and we'll talk about it again on Monday morning. For everybody here at SDH, I'm just John. Thanks for hanging out with us. That's another round of Salty Takeaways and Bitter Ends. We'll catch up with you tomorrow.